Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth. Flipper, got a topic that I hate to talk about, but we got to talk about it. Seems like twice a year these days, and it is going to be something that is going to continue to put pressure on resellers, and something we should be well aware of at this point and take the appropriate action, because if you don't, it's going to cost you some money. And many of you know about this, and I usually am not the first one to talk about subjects like this. I usually wait for a little while. I got to turn off this AC back here. And I like to get the whole story and make sure I got all my numbers right. I'm not going to be completely accurate today when I talk about this, but I'll be close enough, I think, and definitely give you a heads up, and hopefully can ward off some of the confusion and some of the loss of money because of this issue today. Let me pull this item. We're going to get into the topic. This is the one right here. I actually found this at a yard sale. It was a little bit of a overpriced yard sale. Now that's my words, okay, for a reseller picker like me. But I saw this Starbucks and I saw the top and I'm like, that thing's brand new. I'll take it for sure. And I was surprised because there's the retail right there, $27.95. But this Starbucks tumbler got $45 plus shipping. And I can't really remember what I paid. $2 or $3 more than likely is what I paid for it. I don't know if I would have paid $5 because I didn't look it up or anything. I just bought it thinking, yeah, we can make money on that. But, you know, one of the criticisms we get as pickers, especially those who put videos out, it's like, are you really haggling over $1? And I'm like, man, I buy like 5,000 things a year. If I could get $1 off every item, yeah, you better believe I'll haggle over $1. Now, I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't all the time either. It depends on what the item is. But if I'm buying 20 of something, I can get $1 off of it. I'm definitely going to do that. But that kind of relates to this story right here, because those little tiny things add up, like that extra 10 cents that eBay added on to every sale. If you remember that a while back, probably a year ago now or so, I can't remember exactly. And I'm like, everybody's like, oh, it's no big deal. And I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world. But 10 cents for every item I sell over $10, and I'm selling thousands of items, it's real money. And this is going to be way bigger than that. Hey, look at that. Pepper, how you doing? This one, also look at this. This is, look at that, two things. A little Starbucks tumbler, which, you know, it's not a Starbucks mug, which is pretty tough depending on which ones they are. Vera Bradley, and people say, oh, don't pick up Starbucks, don't pick up Vera Bradley. Well, these two both had two things in common. New and a desirable pattern. And see that right there? And MSRP on that was $95, for goodness sake. And I picked this, I think I picked this one up down in Florida. It sold for $40 plus shipping. Some of you may have figured out that I'm talking about postal increases. The continued pressure that is on us in every direction. Speaking of pressure in every direction, I have two dogs begging to get in. So the post office, of course, it's like, it's not that we didn't expect this. We saw this coming, or at least you should have saw it coming. We usually see it 2 times a year at this point. And, you know, some changes are just inevitable. And I think there have been some massive pressures on resellers over the last few years, 3-4 years, you know, when we had massive inflation. You know, those are costs. Hey, you're making everybody mad here. Let me get him. I gave them both a treat. Maybe that'll quiet them up for a minute. So this is, every time I talk about inflation, everybody on either side of the aisle thinks it is, you know, some kind of political statement. It's not. I'm not making a political statement. You can read into everything all you like, but there were some massive inflationary pressures. I even got into the details, you know, on items like my paper and boxes and all kinds of stuff. You had massive inflationary pressures on everything. That doesn't necessarily destroy the reselling business. It's just a drag on the entire overall economy and the expendable capital people have. We've seen a slowing of that, not just over the last 6 months or whatever you want to say here. You've seen a slowing for quite a while. But it certainly seems steadier now. We still have inflation. We still have those pressures. But it is not at those drastic levels. At least, it doesn't seem that way anyways. But we still have all kinds of other pressures that are always coming after resellers. And sometimes, you know, when you get squeezed, in any way you get squeezed, in this case shipping, you know, that's got to be either passed on to the consumer, or you've got to somehow maintain your prices, your shipping prices, especially you flat rate shippers out there. That means you're going to either lose money or it means that you have got to buy your goods at even a lower price. And I think most of us know right now that if you're out there sourcing in the traditional ways, you're not seeing cheaper and cheaper prices. Although from time to time you do. I've seen cheaper prices lately for me. I've also seen inflated prices, and I just walk away. It's just way easier to do that than it used to be at some of these garage sales. It's like, okay, this is one I can buy at. This is one I can't buy at. So I'm going to get into the changes, at least as it affects us. Of course, you know, things like 5-cent stamp increase isn't necessarily going to affect us that much. But that is coming. I sold another, there we go. I can't get it out with one hand. There's no place to sit it up there. Backgammon replacement pieces. These are the smaller ones, inch maybe, or less. They're definitely less. That sold, if you remember, I sold the cups and the dice the other day for $12.95 plus shipping, and then I sold these for $12.95 plus shipping. So that's $26 plus shipping in 2 orders, and I paid $1 for that set. If there's one thing I wish I would have never said was those, because I used to be able to get $12.95, $13.95, $14.95 for those plus shipping in like a day. They'd go, as soon as I'd list them, they'd be gone. Now there's a lot of people list them, which, whatever. All right, we're going to look at these numbers. Like I said, there's changes all over the place. I'm going to look directly at the ground advantage. Now, I was looking at charts and looking at things, and one of the things that I looked at, I'm like, wait a minute, it showed all of the increases, almost all of it at ground advantage, between the 4-ounce and 16-ounce mark. And I'm like, holy moly, these are huge. And I don't think that's going to be the case. One other thing I said there was decreases in those. The best I can tell is there's no decreases in those at all. I even ran it through ChatGPT to figure out what they said. I'm going to look at that and then look at the generic part as well. And then look at the implications for something like this if you make no changes. And then after we look at those kind of micro things that really affect us on a day-to-day basis, I want to look at who this benefits and really who it hurts as far as marketplaces and the big macro picture. All right, this one, we just listed this one. I just listed this one. My wife tends to list things a little bit higher than me, and so sometimes they don't sell as fast. But this one I listed, and it sold. She listed 30 and sold, I think, 4. And I listed 2, and I sold 1. Bonfire Bash. Hey, I gotta give her credit. She makes more money than me when we sell stuff. Bonfire Bash Fine Fragrance Mist. That sold for $24.95 plus shipping. I paid less than $1 for it. So I did the initial, I just did a Google search, and I've been hearing different things, and so I just did it this way because I like to look at charts. That makes more sense to my mind, but I'll just read you the generic part right here and see what they say, and then we're going to get into the details. USPS Ground Advantage prices will increase by approximately 7.1% starting July 13th, 2025. This is part of a larger set of price adjustments for various USPS shipping services, including Priority Mail, Parcel Select. The changes were filed with the Postal Regulatory Commission and are expected to take effect on the specified date. Speaking of dollars, can you believe I paid $1 for this? This Genie Silent Max 1000. Crazy. I just couldn't pass this stuff up as much as I didn't want to buy it. I bought tons of different stuff like this and been selling it off. We're already way in the profit. This one sold for $75 plus shipping. Notice how I picked it's already in a box. I saw that box. I'm like, that would be perfect for that. So I put it with it so I wouldn't have to search when I sold it. USPS Grand Advantage price will increase about 7.1%. Effective date, the new prices will be in effect starting July 13th, 2025. Other services, Priority Mail prices will increase by approximately 6.3% and Parcel Select by 7.6%. These, by the way, are retail prices, which that means there's a couple things here. That means that our percentages will go up less as, you know, commercial rates through eBay and all that stuff. But it also means there'll be a bigger gap between the retail price and the commercial price that we're getting. So that's a big difference. And that is going to continue to kind of foster my argument of not just using the calculated shipping. However, there's an advantage in this situation if you're doing that in one sense. We'll get into that in a minute. No changes. Oh, Parcel Select 7.6. No changes to Priority Mail Express, Domestic Extra Service, International Ancillary Services, okay, all that. Ground Advantage sealed. Okay, price charts, and you can look at the price charts page right there. I came across an awesome sale that hopefully you guys will see soon. ET's been knocked over. Come on, ET, get up. Anyway, this, you'll see it on the Picker channel soon. I won't give it all away. Star Trek: The Original Series transporter room, sealed mega blocks. And I've been listing quite a bit of this type of stuff lately. It's sold for $50, $49.95 plus shipping. I'll get back to the topic, but I got to read this. Veronica, thank you. Kevin, love your channel. Thank you for all the great information. You've really helped inspire me with my own little eBay store, Veronica. Veronica needs to buy. That's the name. You need to sell. You can buy too. Thank you, Veronica. Here's a delister and relister. Before we get back, I actually ran this through ChatGPT, and it's only as good as the information it could draw from. And a lot of the information I was drawing was like, I'm sure we can get it all figured out, but it gives you the rough idea. Because what I really wanted to see is like, all right, what am I gonna pay more on a 4-ounce item, 8-ounce, whatever, that's what I really want to look at. And that's what we're gonna look at, because then we can have an idea of what we need to do at some point. So this is a small Harley belt right here. This one, so I delisted, relisted, so it's not on clearance as they were at one time. $31.95. I lowered the price, but it's higher than it was on clearance. So take that for what it's worth. $31.95 plus shipping. So here's what I got. Now keep in mind, this doesn't take into account the zones. This is just general, and it's not exact. And it goes retail prices and whatever, but it gives you a decent picture of what you'll be paying more for some of these items. So according to this one, on average on a 4-ounce item, you'll be paying 38 cents more on that item. You'll be paying 42 cents more on a 5 to 8 ounce item. You'll be paying 49 cents more on a 9 to 12 ounce item, and you'll be paying 56 cents more on an item, 13 to 16 ounces or whatever. So, and you calculate that out through everything and all the other changes. Let's just say, for the sake of using easy math here, you're paying 50 cents more an item to ship stuff on average. And, that's pretty significant. And reality is that looks like it's hitting those lower levels harder than the other ones. I don't know that for certain, but that's pretty key. A lot of the items we sell are going to be under that. This one's not, but the rest of them will all be under that threshold so far that are on my table. Well, I take it back, plus that one. So let's just use that 50 cent thing for a second. Some will be far more than that, some won't. I sell well over 5,000 items a year on eBay and live selling. Well, I don't even know how many, but way more than that. And if you think about that for a second, that's $2,500 more in shipping costs. So, the immediate thought is I do flat rate shipping. So that's to go into those set standards. I just pick it by weight, and I just click the button. I don't even put the calculations on there, any of that stuff. I don't even bother with it. I just guess and estimate, and I'm right 99% of the time. And by right, I mean that's where I wanted it to be. So you can immediately go in there if you do what I do and you have those rules and they're set. Just go in and change the rule and bump it up by 50 cents. You can immediately do that. I tend to not do that, and people think maybe that's a mistake. I usually wait a month after the fact, and I've essentially put my store on a tiny little discount in comparison to everybody else. The people who are using calculated shipping, that stuff already gets built in, inflates their costs for the buyer significantly. They're not losing money on the shipping, they're making money. They're actually making more money than they were on the shipping. But it's causing probably less sales because of the inflation. But it's minimal, right? So for those who use calculated shipping, that's okay. For me, I wait about a month, sometimes 2, and I essentially put my store on discount by doing that with those shipping rates, and my items become a little bit cheaper, and then I bump it up a little bit later. So that's my strategy. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but that's typically what I do. Now on live selling, what I might do is maybe bump things up 50 cents or so, a quarter. Maybe I won't bump up the initial buy, but every buy after the first one, I might bump it up a quarter or something like that. I might bump up the initial buy and keep everything else at $1. There is definitely ways to do it, but I kind of want to talk about that a little bit further down the road here in just a second. But this Patagonia bag, I bought this at Peaches to Beaches. It was in a stack of stuff. I was walking out a door and I said, hey, how much you want for that? And he's like, I don't know, what do you give me for it? And I'm like, I'll give you $10 for it. And he said, 15, you got it. And I think I took it. Well, I know I took it, but I think that was the price. And it sold for $45, I think. $45.95 plus shipping. Just as an addendum to that, it says notes here, commercial rates will increase by about 4.7%, but this chart focuses on retail rates. So you're going to see an increase. The the question is, what do we do about it? How does it affect us? Well, you figure out how many items you ship. If you just want to use a generic number of 50 cents, per year, that's how much cost you're incurring. So how much you're going to push that on to the buyer, how much you're going to try to decrease on the buy side, or whatever you're going to do. That's pretty tough, right? So it's really a question of what are you going to do? What are you going to pass on? And there's all kinds of different methods. There's a lot of people who just do the free shipping. I get that. I totally understand all the arguments. There's advantages for it. I understand the calculated shipping, even though it seems very overpriced for me for a lot of the zones, and it makes it really, really cutting off your market. But there are ways to do that too, to set in that discount so that they see that the difference between the commercial rate, retail rate, it's mitigated a little bit, build-in costs for boxes and stuff like that. Maybe you just stop buying boxes. I'm not going to do that. Doesn't make sense for me to do that because it's not easy for me to find boxes. It's not hard, but it takes time, and I've calculated it out. For me, it's not perfect. However, what I have been doing a lot lately is opportunities that come around. Like if I'm walking through a store and there's a pile of broken down boxes that are perfect for what I use, I'm picking them up every time if they'll let me have them. That kind of stuff. I already buy the bubble wrap from American Bubble Boy. To me, it's, if you buy it in the right ways, it's cheaper than just about anywhere, and you get it delivered to your house. I have that sent. You can use those links. I don't mean that for a promo, but it works for a promo. And of course the tape. I buy stuff in bulk. By shipping supplies, like I just bought poly bags, one of the sizes. I just bought 1,000 of them, I'm like, I can save a little bit here and a little bit there, and it makes sense. And I've got a little storage out there for these supplies. I know everybody can't do that, but I do it. So tell me what your strategy is going to be, or if you're not going to have a strategy. If you do, you're just going to leave it as is, right? So for me, it's just a few clicks of a button if I want to raise it up a little bit. And some things I might keep the same. Some things I might, tweak and add a little bit. But it'll be a couple months from now. It might be a month from now. So another one of these guys here. And this one my wife did list. I'm hoping it's that one. Vanilla coconut. Look at that. I just looked at the color. Vanilla coconut shower gel, sealed. That one sold for $15.95 plus shipping. That's a second viewer sale today already. Thank you. Michelle Renee, we appreciate you. I watch both Commonwealth Picker and the Commonwealth Flipper channels for inspiration and truth. You always give good advice and love your good-natured heart. Thanks for always being there. Your friend in picking. MRJ Treasures. That's the name of the eBay store too. Thank you. So looking at the big picture here, is this something that's going to get people out of reselling? I certainly hope not. But, these pressures are there. And the consumer, at this price point difference in the overall purchase of an item, we're talking 1 or 2% more. It's like, yeah, is it going to really change buyer habits? No, but the accumulation of this stuff over time definitely has an effect. And there's different options. Like I just shipped something FedEx. Matter of fact, it was the item that Fines got. I don't know if I ever announced that. It was that tailor-made. It was the Scotty Cameron putter that we gave away. We sold for $1. I got to get my story straight here. We sold for $1 over on dibditsports.com, and they got that sucker for $1. And the shipping was going to be like $20-some. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing USPS on this one because of the size of that thing. I shipped it out for under $8 for a putter, which is kind of cool. So knowing your shipping and your shipping options and stuff like that is always going to be key. It always has been. It always will be. And being able to adjust is, there's arguments to be made for streamlining things and one carrier and stuff. But if you're an everything seller, that's usually not something that you can do. So I really want to look here at the bigger picture. I've already said this isn't the end of the world, but it does continue to put pressure. So for me, I'm going to continue to get the best deals I can possibly get within reason. I'm not going to go out there and say, hey, this is a $500 item and you want 20 bucks for it. I'll give you 4. But if I'm buying in quantity, for instance, I'm going to buy more in quantity. That's the other thing, is think about eBay versus, well, you've got Whatnot. I don't pay attention to Whatnot that much because I'm not selling over there, but I know a lot of you do. On our live selling site, that is one huge advantage. And this is going to continue to put a bigger advantage in that side of reselling. People that go to eBay usually buy one item. And if you're buying one item, your cost is not mitigated at all. It's going to be, the shipping cost is going to be included some way, shape, or form in an item. But if you're a collector of a ton of stuff in a particular niche, you know you can get that stuff cheaper. I'm not talking about the price, although that's true most of the time. If you're willing to do the work and sit through it and do whatever, because of the combined shipping that you can get. And that's one of the reasons I was over there and did Didbit.com and all those places, because people can go and buy, like for instance, we sold, Reagan was here with me today. I think the box is down here. And we did a live sale. I'm trying to think what marketplace we did it. Oh, we did it on Dave's Kitchen Market. It's the first time I ever sold over there. And I sold a box of stuff. I sold a bunch of stuff. But one person bought like 8 things. And their entire shipping was $16.99 for 8 things in a big box. If you would have bought those independently over there on eBay, your shipping would have been crazy because you wouldn't have found them from the same buyer. And so it really mitigated the price. Now, do they really want all those things because they didn't, search them out kind of thing? Maybe, maybe not. But it's still an argument to be made for the increasing pressure on singular listing buy it now sites. And over time, I think that's had an effect. If you want to go out and buy a ton of, maybe you like, I don't know, paperweights, for instance. And you can go to a show and look at 50, 100 paperweights and pick out 8 or 10 that you like. You've got those way, way cheaper just in the shipping cost because you've done it that way. Bubba and Jacob out there playing wiffle ball. All right, the dog was going to come in here and then he saw them. This is profit, all profit at this point after fees, shit, all that stuff. This is a wall unit for the Genie. Did not get bought by that person, bought it by somebody else, but hey, whatever, all pure profit at this point. $21.95 plus shipping. By the way, that's for garage door. If I didn't, well, you should have been able to figure it out. Anyway, here's another little thought to put in your mind that people sometimes forget about. You know it, but you forget it sometimes. It's not only the increase in shipping, you're also paying eBay fees on the expense of shipping. So that goes up, plus you pay that percentage fee on the hike in shipping. And the buyer is also paying an increase in sales tax on the shipping on that item. Here's something I picked up at a sale. And I think they wanted like $5 or something for it. And I'm like, I can't do that. I think the asking price was $5. And I said, I'll give you $2. And they said yes. And I was a little surprised, but I wasn't going to pay $5. And I'm probably only going to pay $3 because this stuff can be slow. Sell-through rate wasn't amazing, but I saw some flaws in some of the listings, and I'm like, my listing can be better than that. And I listed it for $12.95, and it sold $12.95 plus shipping. I guess I should tell you what it is. It is How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive, Manual of Step-by-Step Procedures for Complete Idiot. Oh, there you go. I'll take that sale. By the way, something like that, I would put in a padded poly. A big one. I have those big ones, the free ones from eBay, which you should have got if you haven't already used your, let's see. Yeah, should use your coupon. This is Q, what am I at here? So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So you should be able to use that coupon. Side note, year over year, gas prices are down. Now, I've had a tiny tick up in the summer here so far, which, with all that's going on in the world, I was a little afraid we'd see a little bit bigger one. We didn't. Which is good. All right, I gotta find. Why do I keep looking in the wrong places? I'm looking for this right here. This was a Goodwill buy, y'all. I haven't been to Goodwill in forever, but I bought a whole bag of this stuff. And this one is, I've made a bunch of money on that buy. It's $27.95. Reverse Lift Serious Skincare, $27.95 plus shipping. I mentioned gas prices because it helps us in different ways, especially us that go out there and source. It definitely helps us because we're paying less for gas, but it should also help, the transportation of goods, i.e. shipping. And I think that pressure, as long as we can keep it down, will keep these increases down. Let's hope. You never know. Probably not. But you get the point. And I know retailers really, really enjoy, having those fuel prices down for sure. If they can get them down, it'll help everybody out. 57 Chevy Bel Air hardtop AMT from Ertl, $18 plus shipping. Had a third viewer sale. You guys, we're shipping 18 out of here today. You guys were very nice to us. Thank you. Unbelievable benefit to have, I'd have sold 18 things today. I'd have sold 15 things today if it wasn't for viewers. Although I will say this one probably would not have sold today. It's a Halloween item. I gotta make sure this is the right one. I think it is. I'll show you a picture and I'll double check before I sell it. Or before, where did I get this from? I don't even remember where I got this. Because I typically don't pick up Ray Dunn, but it must have been super cheap. And there it is right there. And it is a Halloween one, which is cool. Halloween stuff sells at Halloween like crazy, but it sells all year round. And it's got a good price on it, $14.95. Happy Halloween chubby black Halloween canister. Or for coffee. I put coffee and candy jar in there as well. You put a few different things like that, you get a little bit better kind of views and get a better shot at selling it. Good morning, Mr. Kevin. Mr. Kevin. I'll go off on a tangent. My kids, and it wasn't meant to be, you know, a jerk or whatever. It was meant to just send a message that I'm not like some of these other teachers out there. They called me Mr. Brown, or they called me Coach Brown. I made a point of saying that. I always joke with it. I wouldn't joke. They thought it was serious, but I'm like, I make my wife call me Coach Brown, which I don't. But I just was making the point. You know, ball players would try to call me just by my last name. They better not call me by my first name. It was just a point that I would make. And so, because, you know, it's a different world than I grew up in. The idea of calling a coach by their first name was like non-existent. Like, I don't think I still, to this day, haven't uttered my mom or dad's real name when addressing them. I just can't. But I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. Like, my coaches, I love my boys' coaches, my daughter's coaches, and they go by Coach and their first name, which is fine. I don't know why I said all that. Mr. Kevin is why I said that, and the kids of our friends call me Mr. Kevin, and I'm okay with it now, but I wouldn't have been okay with it when I was teaching. I'm a viewer, and it seems that I only buy from you, which is fine with me. You and your wife are so kind and always look forward to watching your channels. May God bless you and your family, Mrs. Bonnie. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Bonnie. You know, we're constantly talking about, worrying about, speculating about all those things. You know, in the political realm, we talk about whether it's the tax structure, federal, state, all that stuff, sales tax issues. We're always talking about fuel costs, energy costs. We're talking about things like inflation, postal rates, all these different things. But let's face it, y'all, most of this stuff is just completely beyond our control. So our best spent efforts are going to be on trying to look at the micros and do what's best for our business. To me, there is really no sense in spending way too much time thinking about these things because they are inevitable. However, this kind of thing, yeah, you got to look at it because it's going to have a direct effect on your bottom line. I bought a bunch of curling irons down at Peaches to Beaches, and I've sold most of them off. But I paid less than $1 a piece for them because they were selling them for like a couple bucks a piece in a box. I said, how much for the whole box? And then there was a couple complete losers in there, and I threw them away. They either didn't work or they were almost worthless. And then I gave one to my daughter, and I sold the rest. And I think I might have one left, is all. There were some winners in there. There's like a couple $30 worth. And this one sold for, well, I don't know what this sold for. $18.95 for this one, plus shipping. Looking at the shape of that thing, it made me think of something. It made me think of the Priority shoebox. And the increases for Priority Mail looks like they went up a little less than the increases for Ground Advantage. However, the prices on most Priority are a little bit higher anyway, so that smaller percentage might still mean a bigger difference or the same difference. But I still occasionally will look at Priority Mail. If it's really, really close, sometimes it's within $1.50, sometimes even cheaper, like in the pennies, 18, 19, 20 cents. And you get a free box. Sometimes I'll do that. Plus, the buyer gets it quicker. And I still see a lot of people, surprising to me, shipping Priority Mail and Priority Mail boxes. And I've got a few things in. Sometimes people send stuff to me. Sometimes I buy stuff online and from eBay, or I'll buy from our own sites on Dibdit. And people ship it in Priority Mail boxes, pay that extra cost. So maybe that's you. Maybe you should just move to Ground Advantage. Maybe it's part of your model and you think you get sales, or maybe you do get more sales because of the speed. A lot of people will look at it and it's like, how fast will it get here? It might get you that sale. So maybe that's not necessarily the scheme that will work for you. But I virtually ship nothing Priority Mail anymore. And maybe another strategy is not to, like for instance, I have these micro machines out there. I could, a lot of people I see selling one at a time, and I'm like, I put mine in lots. And it's because, hey, they can get 6 of the style that they want, and the shipping's going to be drastically reduced without having to, ask for a discount or whatever. So there's different strategies. That, speaking of things that go together, this Dale Earnhardt lunch bag sold, and within minutes I saw another Dale item sell. I'm like, must have been the same buyer, but it wasn't. So 2 different Dale items. So this vintage lunch bag box, whatever you want to call it, $16.95 plus shipping. All right, Turner's here with us today. No Commonwealth comedy, but did Bubba beat you at wiffle ball? Oh, you won? Mm-hmm. Good for you. All right, we did this. Can you show them this mug? The back of it, when in doubt, parted out. And Commonwealth picker. That was our original mug years and years ago. We have like 4 left. We only do those for charity auctions at this point. And Mimi bought that from us over on daveskitchenmarket.com. And I wanted to give her a thank you here because Mimi is amazing and that money's going to St. Jude. So thank you, Mimi. Can you thank Mimi?
Thank you, Mimi.
All right.
Don't forget to get your sticker at CommonwealthPicker.com.
Thanks, bud.
Bye.
Here is another Dale item. This one has been in the store a while, so it's on 20% off right now. It's a vintage Dale tank top and made in the USA. It is a double stitcher. That's Earnhardt Jr. I take it back. Here to dominate. Let me make sure this is the right one. It is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Huh. Kind of surprising. That one sold for 20 bucks, $19.96 plus shipping. Look at that. I shouldn't have said my wife prices things too high because she's getting more and more sales on this. We're well in. No, we're not. We're probably, actually, there's two $50. Yeah, we're in the profit at this point. We've got tons of this left. And we'll be selling a lot of it. This is all still listed on eBay. Still. I gotta find the right one here. This might take a minute. Hold on. All right, I had to go back and look it up. I found the right one. Night Blooming Jasmine. Bath & Body Works. And listen, that is all still listed on eBay, obviously. And 3 or 4, probably 4 times that much at least is going to be sold off live at some point over on polishandbrush.com or divdit.com or somewhere. I'm not quite sure. Night Blooming Jasmine, $24.95 plus shipping. Part of the reason I'm doing that for, I'm not going to say lower dollar because there's a lot of $10, $12, $15 items over there, is because of the kind of things we're talking about. For the right person who wants to go over there and buy multiples, maybe they're buying them as gifts, putting them in stockings, and they don't really care about the exact scent all the time because it's not personal for them. They could spend, you know, 40-50% what they'd spend on eBay, plus they're getting a massive discount with that combined shipping. And so it makes more sense for me to do that over there and for them to buy over there. But there's still going to be these one-offs, y'all. This kind of stuff, people are like, okay, I'm buying this because I'm looking for it. The searchable stuff as opposed to the experiential buying. This stuff that we're talking about today is a concern. Pay attention to it, but it's not going to disrupt what I think is the overall trend more and more and more. I mean, look what people are willing to pay extra to have food delivered to their house. You know, the convenience of things for some people is so massive that the trends aren't going to be shifted by 4, 8, 12, 15% even. At the same time, you've got to keep an eye on your bottom line. Let me know what you're going to do. Let me know what you think. Tell me in the comments below. Thank y'all for subscribing. We've seen a massive uptick since the one or two videos where everybody said, forget you and AI. And the same thing on Commonwealth Picker. So we appreciate you very, very much. And I can't wait to see you next time.